Hello everybody. Hello my fellow creatives, hello cross stitchers. Hello all the really lovely encouraging people who were so supportive after my first YouTube video, after my first Flosstube video. I really appreciated that. I hope it's you back here, and also anybody new who hasn't seen me before. Hello, my name's Margaret. This is my YouTube channel, Maggie Lou Stitches, and I am here to talk about cross stitch, biography, eventually Zentangle art, life, all sorts of things and how they intersect. Today I thought I would like to go back in time a little bit and start with the intersection of biography and cross stitch. And as I said in my last video, I have been thinking about why I'm currently in this quite obsessive phase of cross stitch appreciation and cross stitching, and also like where it came from. I've been thinking about my influences that make me feel so creative and be a creative person, but particularly in this way. So without rambling on about that too much, I want to go straight back. I want to look at my family influences, and so for that I'm going to introduce you firstly to my mother. Now, not in person because she lives on the other side of the country, otherwise I would indeed try to make her sit in front of this camera with me. However, I want to show you something. The beginning of my biography journey started in about 1997, 1998, when I decided I wanted to write a collection of the biographies of my 6 brothers and sisters and my mum and dad into a book. And this is my copy of that book. That's called 9 Lives, the McCarahans. What I actually did was I had a book made. I'll put a picture up here of it because it was absolutely beautiful. I had a book made and I gave it to my mum and dad on the occasion of my dad's 70th birthday in 2002. It took years to make this because I interviewed each of my family members and wrote from their interviews an edited story of their life and put them all together. Now, this is a very classic 1970s photo of my family. There's me in the bottom there. So today I want to start by talking about my mum. I'm going to introduce you to Mum, like I said. Her name is Joy. This is the photo of her from the book, and I love this photo. I think we all should have a photo of ourselves looking so beautiful and youthful from back in the day. I love that. I'll also put up a photo here of my mum as a little girl because I love this photo too. And to bring it to more current time, here is a photo of my mum from earlier this year. Yeah, we're in November 2024 now, and this was from January 2024 on the occasion of her 90th birthday, which I was able to go over to celebrate with a whole lot of family members, and that was a fabulous occasion. So that's my mum. Well, just while we're at it really quickly actually, because I mean, here's my dad. Here's Perry. He too is over the other side of the country. He's 92 years old now, and they live together. I'm trying to keep myself from telling a million stories. I'm trying to keep myself on track. Okay, so both Mum and Dad were born and grew up in Tenterfield, northern New South Wales. Thought about Mum's childhood and where was she seeing creativity, because by the time I was growing up, my mum was in her 40s and 50s. She was 35 when she had me, her last child. And she was always very creative when I was growing up. She turned her hand to anything and gave it a go. She did a lot of sewing and a lot of household sewing. She sewed curtains for my bedroom, doona covers. Eventually her main craft and art became quilting. She's made some absolutely beautiful quilts and quilted cushions and quilted things. Oh, beautiful little quilted jackets for my little niece. I remember we had lots of craft books at home. One in particular that I used to look at a lot was, but it was the Reader's Digest needlework book, and it was thick and it was just this type of Bible of just needlework information, and I loved looking at that. The only craft I had done at that point really was rug latch hooking. I had been given a rug kit when I was, I don't know, maybe 10, maybe 12, I'm not really sure. And it was a round rug and it had a picture of a curled up pussycat stamped onto the hessian, and I had all my little strips of wool to hook into that. I don't think I ever finished it. It was pretty big. It was a little bit overwhelming. I kind of wish I had finished it. I wish I knew where it was, but I think it went by the way of unfinished children's projects. I know I did some macrame. I don't actually, I am going off track. Let's get back to Mum and Dad in Tenterfield when they were born. I wanted to look back and ask Mum about those influences particular to our family, particular to her, particular to me, rather than it be a general sweeping statement about what was going on for generations in the population, what was going on in our family. Now, in my mum's case, this is very interesting because she had a quite unusual childhood in that her mother, Violet, actually died when Mum was 6 weeks old. She died from eclampsia after childbirth. And so Mum was the only child of her parents, John and Violet. But John was a surveyor and he worked out in the country, in the field, doing surveyor work. So he couldn't bring up his, new infant daughter, but Violet's parents did. She was brought up by her grandmother and her grandfather. And so by the time she came along, they were quite elderly. And so she said there wasn't a lot of, her grandmother maybe had done a lot of sewing, had done a lot of crafting, but by that age she just wasn't. She said it wasn't really part of her childhood to be seeing that around. I asked if she knew whether her mother had been a sewer, a crafter, a needleworker, and she said yes, I believe she did very beautiful needlework. And in fact there were some silk little baby's nighties that Violet had hand embroidered little flowers on for baby Joy, and Mum said she had those for years, and they're not around anymore, but that was sort of her connection to her mother's needlework, was those little garments, and hearing that yes, she did beautiful embroidery, needlework apparently. So I asked Mum, because Mum's been able to knit forever. Did I mention that before? Knitting, I mean goodness, knitting and crochet is something that was always around when I was a kid. And I asked Mum, well, when did you learn to knit? Do you remember that? And she's got a great story to tell about that. She said she remembers when she was a girl. She doesn't know if she was 8, if she was 10, if she was younger, if she was older, but she was staying at the farm of her Auntie Tib and Uncle Clive, I think, yeah, and their children. Now, Auntie Tib was a very busy farm wife, but at this particular time that my mum was visiting, both she, her cousin David, and her other cousin, whose name has just escaped me right now, were all down with a childhood illness, be it measles, be it chicken pox, I'm not sure which, Mum wasn't sure which. but they were all sick and in bed and in the same bedroom. So they were all in their sick beds in the same bedroom. Auntie Tib decided to teach them how to knit so they would have something to do while they were in their sick beds recovering. And Mum tells this great story that she remembers that the three of them had been in their separate beds and they'd been knitting, and Auntie Tib would come in and show them how to do it and help them get started, and then she'd have to go off again and do all the cooking for the day. She also had a baby that she was still looking after. You know, Mum said she remembers calling out, "Auntie Tib, I dropped a stitch," and she'd come racing back in and she'd fix the little mistake and get her back going again, and then she'd race off to the kitchen again to do her work, and then her cousin David would call out, "Mum, Mum, it's gone wrong, it's not looking right," and Auntie Tib would come racing in again and fix his knitting and get him started again, and this went on for a number of days. And Mum just said that's her very clear memory of when she learned how to knit. She didn't do much knitting straight away. She said she didn't really do much more knitting till she was older, 16, 18, 20, when she was in Sydney and doing her nursing training. Mum went on to be a nurse. So that's sort of the influence of my mum's side of the family, in that, and we don't know much about before then. We don't know much about the crafting history of my mother's ancestors. As far as my dad's side, his mum, Kathleen, was a beautiful knitter, and my dad's sister, my Auntie Betty, was also a beautiful knitter. And I don't know about their needlework or anything like that, but then my third sister, Debbie, I think she's responsible. Debbie was doing lots of beautiful crafts in her 20s when I was an older teenager, and a couple of things that she did that really inspired me. One was calligraphy. She was doing calligraphy courses, and she practiced and did a lot of calligraphy work, but the other was needlework and cross stitch, and this is what I want to get to. My sister did a cross stitch by Permin of Copenhagen, and it hung right inside her front door of her house that she built for herself when she was 26 years old. I think I've got that right. And she moved in, and this cross stitch was right in as you walked in the door. This was the first thing you saw. And oh goodness, I've loved it ever since she made it. I think it's a beautiful piece of cross-stitch work, and I think that had a real influence on me. I really love that. I love that to this day. There was another piece she did of children in the snow. I remember that one, but it was mostly this flower garden that just I used to look at all the time and really caught my attention. A couple of years later, my sister Debbie actually gave me a cross-stitch piece that she made, and I've got it here. I think this was for my 21st birthday that she made this for me, I think, and it is my very own letter M with a pussycat. And I absolutely love this framing that she had done with that piece of fabric there. Unfortunately, this board has aged and the colour has faded a lot, and I threaten myself all the time to get this framed with a new board, but then sometimes it sits by my bed and I just look at it and go, it's fine, doesn't matter. But anyway, so my sister made me that, and I love it. I love it still. And I think between those two things, yeah, I started to feel the influence. That cat I actually recently found when I was doing some cleaning out. I actually found the pattern for it. It's a Lennart kit in the 1990s. But thank you, Debbie, because I've always loved my M. A couple of years after that, I moved to Sydney, and in Sydney was a beautiful needle workshop called Tapestry Craft. It was right in the city of Sydney, and it was the needle workshop at the time, and it was a buzz, and it was a beautiful place to go and visit. You had to walk down the stairs to get into it, and then it was just chock full of embroidery and needlework. I believe it's now called Morris & Sons. that's a whole other story. But anyway, I used to go and visit that shop, and I remember seeing there one day my very, a needlework kit that I just thought, this is going to be my first one. It's time for me to make my own. Now and decided to make was this wreath, also by Permin of Copenhagen, which, was the one that my sister did that I showed you. And I loved this, and so this is my very first cross stitch that I ever made. And here it is. This, has been on my wall, either in my bedroom or in the living area or wherever it goes through the years. I still love it as much now as the time I first laid eyes on it. The colours in this, I just love it. I didn't, as you can see, it doesn't have glass on it. At the time I made that decision. In fact, most of my framed pieces do not have glass. And I don't know that these colours have degraded at all. I think I'd make the same decision, but it's one of the things that you'll never know. I don't have the opportunity to see how this would have aged behind glass for the last 30 years. But anyway, this is my piece that I just love. I wonder if it has a name. I'll just have a look. I didn't think about that. It's called Nostalgia. That's sort of where I thought I just talked today a little bit about my family influences that got me to start cross-stitching, because since then I've kept going and I have more pieces to show you. But I just wanted to go from a picture of my mum to a picture of my first cross-stitch today, and I've done that. I feel like I've whizzed through it a little bit actually. It's still a bit surreal doing this, talking to a camera thing and trying to have all the information in my head. I know it well, but then when it comes to talking about it, I find I go a bit fast, or I forget things, or anyway, it is what it is. So that's all I wanted to get through today as far as history goes, and I'll pick up from that point in time and talk more about other projects that I've done, particularly a really big significant design piece that I did after, a few pieces after my wreath, my nostalgia wreath. But that's for next time. Let's get to current day and let's see where I'm at with my current project. Again, I've only just literally here and now taken it out of the hoops. I haven't ironed it or anything. I'll do all that when I totally finish the thing. But my berries, my Luca-S kit, is so close to being finished. So you can see where I've just taken the hoop out, and I'm just starting another berry. Whoopsie. Down here. There's another cluster of berries down there, and then I'll be finished it. But I have to admit, I love saying it like this actually. I see it as with every piece that you stitch. You get so used to seeing it down in the pixelated stitches that you're working on through a magnifying glass that even I don't look at it at a distance like this very much at the moment, but there it is. That's my Berries and Butterflies, my Luca-S kit, and I'm enjoying it very much, and I really look forward to having that as a finish next time I'm talking to you. As I talked about before, I am a monogamous stitcher, but there's no rules around my stitching. Oh, and in fact, there was somebody who has influenced that. Stuart from, his channel name has just escaped me, but he's a Scottish stitcher. He's only new to Flosstube this year, but boy oh boy, he is a prolific stitcher. And there was just something he said in his first video that just relaxed me about my stitching. And what he said is, I'll stitch anything. I stitch on Aida, I stitch on linen, I stitch on even weave, I stitch full coverage, I stitch tiny little projects, I stitch spooky Halloween pretty ladies. What does he have other ones called? Naughty cross stitches. He'll stitch anything. He doesn't care what it is, and you can see that in his collection. He's just bringing out, you know, works in progress, one after the other after the other. But there was something about hearing him say that just made me go, yeah, we can just stitch anything. I remember when the Luca-S kit arrived, I actually thought, oh, I probably won't use the Ada. I think I'd like to do mine on linen, and so I'll probably change that out, or some other beautiful fabric that I decide to sort of up-level it even more. Honestly, when it came, I could not rip open that package quick enough and get it out. I'm a centre starter, so I measured the centre and get that first stitch in. In the moment, I didn't care what fabric was on. I didn't want to stop and think about it. And I'm like, I guess because I used to think that Ada was like a beginner's cross-stitch fabric and then you moved on. And that's not true at all. That was a false belief. And so, you know, having done it on this Ada, I'm actually really enjoying it. I really like it. It's crisp and white. It's quite soft. I'm really enjoying that. But I think Stuart's comment just reminded me not to get sort of precious about it. I do this and I do that, but I don't like that. I don't like that. Preferences will always come up. In fact, preferences, that's what cross stitch is all about, just in what we choose to cross stitch, like the art that we choose. But, you know, thank you, Stuart, for that just reminder that we can stitch anything. And yeah, his, all of his stitching is beautiful. Yeah, go and check out Stuart. I'll put his channel name just here so that, and of course, as soon as I finish recording, I'll remember it. So one of the other things I was going to say is I have a very soft rule for myself, although it's not a rule and I can change this at any time, but while I'm working on one piece, I am then sort of scouring and choosing what my next piece is going to be and making that purchase and waiting for it to arrive. So I have actually purchased another kit. Again, Stuart's words helped me there because I didn't really want to do another kit. I've got a lot of floss, I've got a lot of patterns that I want to do. I could kit up my own, but I go with whatever really calls me the strongest, and this kit did. And it's coming from the Ukraine. It's taken forever to get here, but that happened with the Luca-S kit as well. So I don't have that here to show you, but hopefully I will next time. I'll have this finish and I'll have a new start. And then that's always very exciting because a new start means I can start deciding on what the next one is going to be. And I think I have an idea what that's going to be too. And I'm being very mysterious here, not showing you them or anything, because I'll be able to do that soon when they arrive. Alright, look, I think that's all for today. Again, I just want to thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for watching. Oh, I did want to give one more shout out to quite an extraordinary floss tuber that has also started floss tubing this year. Her name is Barbara. Her channel is Stitching and Tea with B, and she is a tea expert. Now, I don't really drink tea. I don't not drink tea. It's just not my drink of choice. I'll have one occasionally, but I'm not a big tea drinker. But in each one of her videos, she has tea time, where she selects a certain type of tea. It could be a herbal tea, it could be a traditional tea, a black tea, a green tea, a fruit tea, anything. She does a deep dive into its composition, into its health benefits, if there are there, into its taste, into the producer of the tea, the manufacturer of the tea. It is so interesting. My goodness. Now, and that's not it. It's a floss tube. She does cross stitching as well, and the way she presents her cross stitching is so beautiful. But it's mostly her personality and the beautiful, warm person she is. She's from Southern California, and I highly encourage you to go and have a visit with Barbara. I have really enjoyed Barbara's videos. I hope you do too. Anyway, there were those two floss tubers that are really on my mind at the moment, Stuart and Barbara, and I just really wanted to mention those to anybody who's looking for either new floss tubers to watch or to just go, yeah, I'm enjoying them too. I hope you've already found them. Oh, look, okay, that's enough for this time. Again, like I said, thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Yeah, that was a real joy to see people subscribe after my first video. I was like, thank you. Thank you very much. I really enjoy this, and I hope you do too. And I'll see you next time. Go enjoy your stitching. I'm going to enjoy mine, and I'll see you here again soon. Bye.